Scared Saudi unveils its third panic move in just 3 days amid escalating Iran crisis, exposing Riyadh's deepening fears. Did MBS ban U.S. forces from Saudi bases out of sheer terror after Iran allegedly bombed UAE territory? Saudi executes 3 frantic moves, spooked by UAE attack, a panic call to Iran, followed by U.S. military base ban. Did MBS's sudden ban on U.S. military at Saudi bases force Trump to abruptly terminate Hormuz operation? A sudden pause of Project Freedom has exposed a deep crack within the U.S. coalition of allies in the Gulf, raising questions about coordination and shared strategy. As per U.S. officials, Donald Trump halted Project Freedom after Saudi Arabia formally objected, according to NBC, which described the move as a diplomatic setback. Riyadh reportedly suspended permission for the U.S. military to use its bases and airspace for the operation, limiting the reach of American air and logistical support. The dispute reportedly began after Trump unexpectedly announced the operation on Truth Social, bypassing the usual back-channel consultations with Gulf partners. Saudi leadership was reportedly angered by the public announcement and the lack of prior coordination, feeling it risked drawing the kingdom deeper into the U.S.-Iran standoff. In response, the kingdom informed Washington that U.S. aircraft could no longer fly from Prince Sultan Air Base, a key hub for regional operations. The restriction created an immediate operational crisis for the Pentagon, which had relied on Saudi facilities to stage airlifts, surveillance, and command assets. Even a direct phone call between Trump and Mohammed bin Salman reportedly failed to resolve the issue, underscoring the depth of the disagreement. The move looks like Riyadh's effort to avoid being dragged into another open U.S.-Iran clash, while still preserving its broader security ties with Washington. The setback for Trump came shortly after Tehran launched missile and drone attacks toward the UAE, heightening pressure on Gulf states to recalibrate their alignments. On May 6, Iran's foreign minister held a telephone conversation with his Saudi counterpart, signaling continued diplomatic contact between Tehran and Riyadh at a sensitive regional moment. Iran's Abbas Araghchi spoke by phone with Saudi Foreign Minister Faisal bin Farhan while he was on his China visit, adding another layer of diplomatic coordination amid fast-moving events in the Gulf. Meanwhile, U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio confirmed that Operation Epic Fury had officially concluded, marking what Washington presented as the end of that phase of military action. Soon after that, President Donald Trump said he was halting Project Freedom just 1 day after the mission had been launched, pointing to a rapid shift in the U.S. approach to Hormuz. The United States had launched Project Freedom to guide commercial shipping through the Strait of Hormuz as maritime tensions intensified under the Iranian blockade and transit restrictions. On the first day of the mission, Iran was accused of striking Fujairah in the UAE and multiple cargo ships, sharply escalating fears over the security of Gulf shipping routes. Tasnim news agency reported the diplomatic conversation between the top officials of Tehran and Riyadh, highlighting that back-channel communication continued even as military tensions persisted. Tasnim news agency reported, and I quote, Syed Abbas Araghchi, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of our country, who is in Beijing to meet and consult with Chinese officials, had a telephone conversation with Faisal bin Farhan, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of Saudi Arabia, this Wednesday afternoon. In this conversation, while examining the latest trend of regional developments, the parties emphasized the continuation of the path of diplomacy and cooperation of the countries of the region to prevent the occurrence and escalation of tension. Unquote. The phone call came just a day after Saudi Arabia reacted to the latest reported attack on the UAE, underscoring how closely regional diplomacy is now tracking developments around Hormuz. Saudi Arabia on May 4 issued a formal reaction to the Iranian attacks on the UAE's Fujairah region and nearby U.S. warships, signaling growing alarm in Riyadh over the latest escalation. Riyadh condemned what it described as the first Iranian strike on Gulf countries since the ceasefire came into effect, warning that such actions threaten the entire region's stability. The Iranian attacks took place on the very day that the United States began guiding commercial cargo ships through the Strait of Hormuz under new naval protection mission. The UAE's defense ministry said its air defenses had engaged a total of 15 incoming Iranian missiles and 4 drones on May 4, intercepting many of them before impact. One of the drone strikes caused a fire at a key oil facility in the Emirate of Fujairah, injuring 3 Indian workers who were present at the site when the blast occurred. In a separate statement, the UK military reported that fires had broken out on board 2 cargo ships off the UAE's coast, believed to be linked to the same wave of attacks. Iranian officials described the strike on Fujairah as a direct consequence of what they called US adventurism, blaming Washington's new naval moves for provoking the confrontation. Sources speaking to Iran's state broadcaster IIB said the attack was the product of US adventurism for illegal passage of ships, accusing America of trying to force its way through Hormuz. Iran's navy also confirmed that it had fired both missiles and drones at US warships that were approaching the Strait of Hormuz as part of the new American escort operation. Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman held a phone call with the UAE's president after the attacks, in which the two leaders discussed the situation and coordinated their response to Iran's actions. Riyadh's official statement said, "The Ministry of Foreign Affairs expresses the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia's condemnation and strongest denunciation of the Iranian targeting, via missiles and drones, of civilian and economic facilities in the sisterly United Arab Emirates state and of a tanker affiliated with an Emirati company." His Royal Highness Crown Prince conducted a phone call with the President of the United Arab Emirates during which he expressed the kingdom's condemnation and strong denunciation of the unjustified Iranian attacks that targeted the sisterly United Arab Emirates, and affirmed the kingdom stand alongside the UAE in defending its security and stability. A high-level Trump administration official reportedly informed Iran in advance about the new US Hormuz operation, suggesting Washington may have tried to reduce the risk of a direct clash before the mission even began. According to the report, Iran was told on May 3 about the planned American operation to guide ships through the Strait of Hormuz, indicating that the move was not meant to come as a surprise to Tehran. The same reporting says Iran was warned not to interfere, with US officials apparently hoping that advance notice would prevent the mission from spiraling into a broader confrontation. The White House, according to US media accounts, wanted to mitigate the danger of escalation, which shows how sensitive and potentially combustible the Hormuz situation had already become. However, reports say that on the very first day of the US mission, Iran responded with fresh hostile action, immediately casting doubt on whether deconfliction efforts had achieved anything at all. Those reports claim Iran struck Fujairah in the UAE, targeted multiple cargo ships, and fired warning shots at US naval forces, dramatically escalating tensions around one of the world's most critical maritime choke points. Soon after that, President Donald Trump said he was halting Project Freedom just a day after it was launched, underscoring how quickly the mission appeared to run into political and operational trouble.